Bill Maher's recent takedown of Hollywood's portrayal of fathers hit like a lightning bolt, exposing a cultural sore spot that's been festering for years. His sharp critique, laced with biting humor, called out the entertainment industry for its relentless depiction of dads as bumbling, incompetent fools, a caricature that's become so pervasive it's practically a genre of its own. Maher's point was clear: when the power goes out and comes back on in 20 minutes, it's because a man in a raincoat braved the storm, climbed a pole, and wrestled with live wires. Men, he argued, aren't useless, despite what sitcoms, movies, and commercials would have you believe. His plea for Father's Day wasn't for ties or grilling tools, but for something far more valuable: respect. This resonates deeply, not just for fathers, but for anyone who's noticed how Hollywood's narrative has chipped away at the image of fatherhood, turning it into a punchline. The question is, how did we get here, and why does it matter? The issue Maher highlighted isn't new, but it's reached a tipping point. For decades, Hollywood has leaned into a formula that paints men, especially fathers, as clueless, lazy, or outright disastrous. Think about the sitcoms that have dominated television screens since the late 1980s. Shows like Married with Children gave us Al Bundy, the dim-witted shoe salesman who could barely tie his own shoes, let alone lead a family. The trend continued with The Simpsons' Homer Simpson, a lovable but reckless buffoon who stumbles through fatherhood with a beer in one hand and a donut in the other. Family Guy's Peter Griffin took it further, amplifying the absurdity with a character so incompetent he's practically a cartoonish liability. Even critically acclaimed shows like Modern Family and Malcolm in the Middle couldn't resist the trope, presenting fathers as well-meaning but perpetually out-of-their-depth sidekicks to their smarter, more capable wives. This pattern isn't confined to sitcoms. It's bled into every corner of entertainment, movies, streaming series, even commercials. The tagline for household products often feels like a jab: because your husband can't be trusted with the laundry. Major motion pictures, from family comedies to blockbuster adventures, frequently reduce male characters to comic relief or emotional voids. Minor films, chasing the same trends, double down on the stereotype, knowing it's a safe bet for laughs. The 1987 film 3 Men and a Baby, which Maher pointed to as a starting point, crystallized this archetype. The premise, 3 grown men so inept they can't keep an infant alive without chaos, was a box office smash, raking in $240 million on a $15 million budget. Hollywood, ever the profit-driven machine, took note. The formula was simple: quirky, helpless men plus cute babies equaled big bucks. Nuance and depth were sacrificed for easy laughs, and the floodgates opened. The financial incentive is undeniable. Hollywood doesn't care about truth or balance. It cares about what sells. Once 3 Men and a Baby proved the profitability of the hapless dad trope, studios churned out variations like an assembly line. Home Improvement, Everybody Loves Raymond, According to Jim, the list goes on. Each show leaned into the same predictable dynamic: mom is the competent, eye-rolling anchor, dad is the lovable screw-up who means well but can't be trusted with basic responsibilities. It's a formula that's been milked dry, not because it's clever, but because it's profitable. The moment an idea cashes in, Hollywood clings to it like a life raft, consequences be damned. And the consequence here is a cultural narrative that's slowly eroding the image of fatherhood. This isn't just about entertainment. It's about the messages being broadcast to millions. The constant portrayal of fathers as incompetent doesn't just shape how we view dads, it shapes how dads view themselves. When every sitcom dad burns down the house metaphorically or literally, it sends a signal that fatherhood is a role to be mocked, not revered. Kids in these shows are often depicted as sarcastic, disrespectful, and perpetually smarter than their fathers, further undermining paternal authority. The eye-rolling teenager who talks back to dad isn't just a trope, it's become a cultural expectation. Respect for fathers, once a cornerstone of family dynamics, is now treated as outdated or even laughable. Hollywood has flipped the script, turning honor into a punchline and chaos into comedy. The broader cultural impact is profound. By normalizing the clueless dad archetype, Hollywood has contributed to a subtle sabotage of traditional family values. The message is clear: fathers are optional, replaceable, or at best, comic relief. Mothers, by contrast, are consistently portrayed as the smart, capable ones, holding the family together while dads stumble through life. This dynamic isn't just a storytelling choice, it's a deliberate shift in how we perceive gender roles. Maher pointed out that this might be seen as a correction to centuries of women being depicted as the weaker sex, but the pendulum has swung too far. Equality shouldn't mean tearing one group down to lift another. Yet, that's exactly what's happening. The pandering to this narrative is relentless. High-profile figures like Ryan Gosling, Terry Crews, and even Barack Obama have publicly declared women as better than men, feeding into a cultural script that celebrates one gender at the expense of the other. Gosling's claim that women are better than men, or Crews's assertion that women are smarter, sounds like applause bait, not truth. It's performative, designed to align with a cultural moment where masculinity is increasingly vilified. Even Will Ferrell's tongue-in-cheek history recap about men running the show since 10:0 BC and failing at it plays into this narrative, suggesting women should take over because men have botched it. But history isn't that simple. Women in power, Queen Mary, Cleopatra, Indira Gandhi, haven't been flawless either. Leadership isn't about gender. It's about competence. Yet, Hollywood and its allies keep pushing the idea that women are inherently superior, while men are inherently flawed. This isn't equality, it's revenge dressed up as progress. The idea that men's contributions are negligible or that masculinity is inherently toxic is a distortion of reality. Men have built civilizations, invented transformative technologies, and shouldered immense responsibilities throughout history. From the wheel to the internet, from penicillin to the smartphone, men's contributions are undeniable. Yes, women were often sidelined by systemic barriers, and their potential contributions were stifled. But rewriting history to downplay men's role or vilify masculinity doesn't correct past wrongs, it creates new ones. Equality means recognizing everyone's worth, not trading one stereotype for another. The cultural fallout is evident, especially among younger generations. Teenage boys, bombarded with images of men as either buffoons or villains, are left searching for role models. This vacuum has given rise to figures like Andrew Tate, whose toxic brand of masculinity fills the void left by Hollywood's emasculated dads. Tate, an accused rapist-turned-influencer, garners billions of views by preaching a hyper-aggressive, domineering version of manhood. For many young men, the choice feels binary. Either embrace performative weakness or embrace performative strength. Neither is authentic. Maher's call for a middle ground, where men can be real, neither monsters nor doormats, resonates because it's a plea for balance in a culture that thrives on extremes. The demonization of masculinity isn't just a cultural quirk, it's a deliberate agenda. The woke narrative, as Maher and others have called it, cloaks itself in the language of progress, but often functions as a wrecking ball, dismantling traditional values like fatherhood and masculinity. The constant shaming of men for being men, whether it's for traditional roles, emotional restraint, or physical strength, has created a society where masculinity is treated as a flaw. Men's struggles are dismissed, their vulnerabilities erased, and their worth questioned. This isn't about uplifting women, it's about tearing men down, and it's not just Hollywood. Commercials, social media, and even political discourse reinforce this narrative, applauding cheap shots at men while calling it justice. But let's be clear, masculinity isn't toxic. What's toxic is the relentless effort to vilify it. Real masculinity is about responsibility, leadership, and resilience. It's about fathers who provide, protect, and guide, even when the world mocks them for it. It's about men who climb poles in storms, build infrastructure, and innovate in ways that shape the world. The cultural war against masculinity isn't just an attack on men, it's an attack on the stability of families and society. When fathers are reduced to punchlines, the ripple effects are felt everywhere. Kids grow up without strong role models, families lose their anchors, and society frays at the edges. The historical context adds another layer. For much of human history, survival demanded physical strength and endurance, traits more common in men due to biology. Wars, conquests, and labor-intensive roles shaped a world where men often took the lead, not out of malice but out of necessity. Women, constrained by biology and cultural norms, were often relegated to secondary roles. This wasn't fair, but it was reality. Acknowledging this doesn't diminish women's contributions or potential. It simply explains why history unfolded as it did. The modern push for equality is vital, but it shouldn't mean erasing men's contributions or shaming them for their past roles. Progress means building on the past, not burning it down.